Well, hello everyone and welcome to another One Piece review. This time we'll be talking about episodes 32 to 36. So this covers, I guess briefly to give an overview. So at the beginning of this, Arlong goes to Nami's village, like once more, because of Gen, or Gen-san as they say, I think, who has been having weapons or something like that. And so he goes there, and while he's there, Zoro like beats up his men and escapes. And then when Arlong and his men come back, Nami kills Usopp. And then Luffy and Sanji arrive on this like ship that's like flying in the sky. It was kind of crazy. And then we get Nami's backstory. And then basically we end with the Marines showing up in the present day to basically try and find Nami's treasure or like confronting her about it. And overall, this stuff was good. This was, now I obviously I don't know if it's because this feels very divergent or like very different in tone, I guess, from the live action, but it felt very original, like very different, but mostly it just felt very engaging. Like I could have watched way more of this if I had the time. I just literally didn't have more time. Like I was originally only planning to watch 4 episodes, but then that last episode didn't wrap up the flashback for Nami, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to watch more, so I watched another one too. So that was why I got 5 episodes this time instead of the typical 4. But yeah, it was just really good. Now, I don't have too many notes, so this will probably be a shorter one. You're probably looking at the runtime, and it's like, I'm gonna guess 11 minutes or something like that, okay? But if it's longer than that, then I guess I had more to talk about. But anyway, I have like 3 overall thoughts, or maybe 2 main ones. The first one is about Arlong himself, which is that he's very different than at least my memory of what he was like in the live action. And I feel like this is a thing I've been saying consistently, like for like a few different arcs at this point, but Arlong as a character felt very different. For context, if you haven't watched any of these past reviews, I have kept talking about how like the Arlong part of this story and Arlong himself wasn't really the most interesting part in that live action. Like my recollection, like maybe at the time I liked it, I don't quite remember, but thinking back, I have negative thoughts of that where I'm like, it was like fine. It was a little boring, a little like parts where I'm like, this is like not very interesting. Arlong, I didn't really like him as a character or anything like that, but he feels so unbelievably different in this anime. Like, I feel like the way I would characterize him in at least my recollection of the live action, was that he was much more of an obvious kind of liar, or like a generic kind of villain kind of guy, where it seems that like, I felt like he'd be insulted, he'd lash out if you insulted him, or he was more about like respect, and I don't know, he'd like laugh at like, I don't know, at villainous thing. I don't know, he basically seemed a lot more typically kind of, in a kind of boring like Don Krieg way. Not that we hate Don Krieg anymore, we love him after his last 2 episodes, but I don't know, he seemed more boring in the live action, and more like, this is a guy who like thinks he's clever and is like always lying to people and laughing about it sneakily or whatever. I don't know. In this set of episodes, he's like, there's like 2 things. One is that he's like far more like nonchalant or like chill, I guess is probably the way to put it, where he's just like lounging on his chair a lot of the time, and like Nami is like disrespecting him like verbally, and he doesn't really seem to care at all. And like even when Nami like saves Zoro from drowning, he doesn't get mad at her or like question her like loyalty or anything like that. He's just like kind of chill, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like the chill, like obviously he still comes across as incredibly villainous, right? But it's like in a very different kind of tone. I don't know how to say it. It's like a more chill tone to it. And I definitely prefer this. Like this is unequivocally better than the live action that I remember. And the other element to him is that the tone surrounding him is like I was saying about chillness, but it's also a bit more like lighthearted. Is probably a better way to put it. And like there's 2 things that really contributed to this. One is that when he goes back to Nami's village and he's about to like attack Gen-san or whatever, or kill him, I guess, for having weapons, and then Usopp shows up and has his awesome moment where he's basically standing on a rooftop yelling about all these lies about how he has thousands of men and blah blah blah, you know, leave him alone, we'll kill you or whatever. And that was an awesome moment in its own right. But after Usopp attacks him there, Arlong like gets mad, he's like angry and stuff, and it's like pretty comical. It's like, it's a very like, because we know that scene is kind of a joke, because obviously Usopp is like playing a character at that point, right? He doesn't actually have those thousands of men or whatever. But the fact that Arlong gets like, I guess rage baited is probably the best like term in like the modern day or whatever, but the fact that he gets rage baited or like falls for that like act is like very comedic and paints him in a very funny way. I don't know, I like it. And then how also that after this, Arlong's men like drag him back, and they don't just like drag him back for a few seconds and then like knocks him out or like knocks him away or anything like that. They drag him a considerable distance, like back into like the forest or whatever. And I could never imagine like Arlong in the live action being portrayed in such like a comedic or like even like a weak kind of way. Not that it's weak that he got dragged away by his men. I'm sure if he wanted to, he could swat them away. But the fact that like he gets dragged away for so long and doesn't like fight back is an interesting like thing. It's a slightly interesting character perspective or character tone, I guess. I don't know. I like it. Arlong is surprisingly good so far. Yeah. Still very incredibly villainous. Feels like a villain for sure, but in a much more interesting way, I think. So, you know, I think that's the majority of I don't think I'm gonna have any other comparisons to the live action, but that's my first thing. Now, the other thing that I really like about these set of episodes is obviously, you know, if you know anything about me and watching One Piece so far, it is the Nami flashback. It is awesome. Like it is fantastic. It is probably the most engaging, like, emotional bit of One Piece so far, up there with the Zoro flashback that I also love so much. Like when I'm thinking back so far, my two favorite moments of the anime, like up until this point, have definitely been the Zoro flashback and now the Nami flashback stuff. Yeah, so I like this a lot. Like it has a bunch of cool stuff that I like. It has a very cute like family dynamic with I think it was Belmere was her name, right? But I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, with Belmere and Nojiko and Nami, and they're all living together, and they're like an adopted family that is all just happily, you know, living. They're a very poor family. Belmere can't really like provide them with luxuries or anything like that, and she's obviously she's like dieting, quote unquote, you know, so that they can eat whatever they want more so, the children, that is. Like all of this stuff is very cool and cute, I guess. And there's also like there's this really funny, like, I don't know how to say it, but it's like one of the cutest scenes is when Gensan showed up and was scolding her about like, you gotta tell Nami not to stop stealing these books or whatever. And she's like, oh, you know what? You paid for it, right? And I'll pay you back with my body. And then he like freaks out and is like, oh, your body? And he like goes red or whatever. And then just the fact that like Nami clearly has no idea what that joke is. I would assume, like maybe she does or whatever, but I don't think she does. Like it's a very adult joke, right? And then both Belmy and her are just laughing so hard. And Nami has no context for why she's laughing. She just finds it very funny. And stuff like this, like little details like this in the family dynamic are just so cute. And I like it so much. That was great. And then like Nami also repeats this joke later. And obviously she doesn't understand the joke, but she like uses that same line on not Belmy, on Gensan later. It's just very funny and very cute. An amazing dynamic. So I like this family. Very cute. It also has really good drama in this flashback, like family stuff, which is that Nami she says the things you should never say, which is that, oh my god, you're not my real family because we're not related by blood, and not as if that matters at all. But Nami just yells it out at one point. I'm like, no, Nami, don't say that. They're your real family. And the fact that Nami says that, you know, she wishes she was adopted by someone who had more money. And it's like, oh, like, you know, your mom has sacrificed so much for you. And oh my goodness. So that was very cute as well. And very emotionally investing, I guess. So that was really good, but that's Nami's flashback. But then within Nami's flashback, we get Belmere's flashback, which was also great. And this had probably the most, it's up there. Like it's either going to be this one or the one that comes later, the most emotional moment, which is that when Belmere comes back from being a Marine with the two children and they have a fever, and she's like, get a doctor, get it. We need a doctor now. And they're like taking their time. Now, I need it now. And they take the kids. And then Belmere's like, please, like, don't let the children die. And I felt it in that moment. I'm sure some music was playing that really got to me, but oh my goodness, it was so good. So yeah, we love Nami's flashback. We love his flashback within Nami's flashback. And then, my goodness, when we cut back to the present day. When I say present day, I mean like Nami's flashback present day. And Belmere dies. It's like so unbelievably sad. Like just the fact that you initially, obviously I knew that she was gonna die, right? Like I knew I've seen the live action and all that. But the fact that you like initially, she's saying that like she basically passes it off as though like she's paying for herself with 100,000, but then later she says like, you thought that was for me? That was for my two kids. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And then like both the kids come running and the music is playing, and Nami like thinks back to the things she regrets saying, like the fact that like she wishes she was born to someone richer, and oh my goodness, and she like dies, and it's so sad. I don't know what to say. It is one of the most emotional moments in One Piece so far, and I really appreciated it. And then we learned that Nami's dream is to travel the world and build a map, basically, like to map out everything she sees. And I love it. This is cool. And it also makes me wonder if like by the end of this series, she will have like the definitive map of the world or something like that, because that'd be super cool. This is something I've been like very curious about up until this point, right? I'm like, what does the world look like? And I guess I never really like thought about it too strongly, but it is very possible that there just is no like world map, right? Yeah. Like no like solid one, not as detailed as something Nami could produce, right? So I don't know, it'd be super cool if that happened, but yeah. Now the only other thing to say about this flashback is that, oh my goodness, it also got me incredibly invested in wanting to see these fishmen die. Okay, maybe not the octopus guy. We love the octopus guy, it's pretty good, but all the others, oh my god, they're evil. We can kill them. They killed our great Belmere that we love so much. I'm looking forward to the day where Luffy, I think from the anime, from the live action, I think he was the one who defeated Arlong. Now I don't remember if he killed him. I feel like that'd be pretty extreme. I kind of hope he kills him, like that'd be cool. But yeah, my god, I'm very invested. But that's all the overall thoughts I have. Now, the only other stuff I have is like miscellaneous notes, so let's go through them. My first one is a very minor one about Nojiko's design. Nojiko is Nami's sister. And it's the fact that like her lips are like a slightly lighter color. I just don't like it. It looks strange to me. I don't know. It's like a weird character design element. I just don't like it. So that's, yeah, one thing. Next, like another character design kind of element is that Nami in these set of episodes has a thing that happens, which is that whenever she gets very like, I guess emotionally engaged or switched on or something like that, her eyes turn pink. And I really like this. The majority of the time it happens is when she's like getting mad or like getting like emotionally like hit or damaged or whatever. Like for instance, when Arlong says, oh, Nami's the kind of person who would like sell out even her own parents or whatever for money. And her eyes like go big and wide and pink. And I'm like, whoa, this is like super cool. So I really like this. I appreciate this as like a production decision. That was really cool. Another miscellaneous note is that Nami is collecting 100 million berry to free the town, which is a wild amount. And for context, that's like over 10 Higumas, which is pretty crazy that's like, yeah. The more context we get for like numbers in the show, the more I think that, man, you know, Higuma, he was definitely exaggerating his reputation. I don't think he was really worth that much. Now that we have a lot more context for all these numbers, but anyway. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit more context for the value of currency, I guess, in this world. And there's also the fact that like every month, the people of the town are paying like 1/10 of a Higuma, or like, what was it, like 100,000 per like adult to like survive, which is kind of crazy. Like that feels like a lot of money in this world, but yeah, anyway. Another thing is that when there's this cool like shot, I guess, or like a scene really, where after Zoro has beaten Arlong's men, he's just like lounging on his chair, like sitting back, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like I like the visual here. Zoro was an interesting case where I'm like, I don't know quite where he like power scales. Like I feel like every time he's entered combat, he's like been basically undefeated, except for obviously with Mihawk, right? But at the same time, it's like, so every now and then he'll like get disqualified from the fight for some reason or another. Like maybe like some comedy gag will happen and he'll be knocked out, or like in the syrup village where Nami like puts the oil and he can't get up the oil or whatever. Stuff like that like disqualifies him from fights. We don't really get to see like how strong he would scale up to, you know? But I'm curious, like he defeated so many of Arlong's men so easily. Like I wonder how would he scale against like someone like Arlong? Like would he beat him like quite easily? Would it be a struggle like to beat him? I'm curious. I hope we get like more, I don't know, things to scale Zoro's power on. Like he has a very big reputation, right? Like even Arlong was kind of like not sweating, but he was like, he knew who he was and was very alert when he heard the name Roronoa Zoro or whatever. So yeah. Zoro power scaling. Oh, Nami killing Usopp was also crazy. This is something I don't remember from the live action. Now, maybe it happened, I just completely forgot. But oh my god, the whole time I was like, obviously I know that Usopp doesn't die, and obviously I know that Nami didn't kill him. And the whole time, like, how did he survive this? Like, he got stabbed in basically the stomach, or the chest even. He goes into the water and is drowning. Like, what could happen here? And the reveal was awesome, which is that Nami, like, stabs her own hand. And it makes sense, because, like, when they see her later, her hand is, like, covered in blood, but you can't tell that she stabbed her own blood to her hand to get the blood. So it's like, oh, that's awesome. It tricked me. But I was, like, thinking, how did she do that? Like, how's he gonna survive? It was a good reveal. I like that. And then my final note is about Luffy getting mad at one of Zoro's friends, I guess, quote unquote, Johnny. You know, what a great name. We love Johnny now. Who they have left, by the way. They're not part of the crew anymore. They're like, we're gonna go live our own thing and we'll see you again one day, I'm sure. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like these two. But anyway, it's all beside the point. Luffy gets mad at Johnny for saying that Nami, or implying that Nami would kill Usopp. I guess saying it outright. And Luffy's like, you know, she would never do that because we're friends. And like, Luffy really cares about his friends. And this is a thing where I picked this up like a while ago, back in Syrup Village, I think, when Nami particularly said something about, I wish I remember the details, but it was an interaction specifically with Nami back then that really got to Luffy. Or was it the other way around, where, I don't remember. There was a big friendship thing, and I'm glad friendship's coming back as like a big thing, because it was a thing that stood out before, and it's coming back, so I like that. That's my miscellaneous notes. Now, the only other things I have are 2 notes on the lore of this show, which I love. I'm excited to get more of this as time goes on. I'm very excited to get to the Grand Line, so I can learn more about that. But one piece of lore we get is that there was a rumor that the Fishman pirate group split up, and the implication would be that like Arlong is like one of the factions that are like split off from it. But I wonder what caused that. I wonder like who the groups are. Like, is there 2 groups? Is there more? Who are the leaders? I know they said Jimbei, right, is like one of the I think he's a fishman and he's one of the 7 warlords of the sea or whatever it was called. So did that happen? Like, did he split off one way and Arlong went another way, or were they all under Jimbei and like now they split off into like little subgroups? Or I don't know, I'm curious about that. And then the other piece of lore we got is that during the era of Nami's flashback, so when she's 10 years old, we learned that the Navy headquarters is like pretty incredibly powerful. Like they said that if we had the Navy headquarters here, they could wipe out Arlong and all that. But at the time, the Navy headquarters was preoccupied with the Grand Line. So I don't know if there was like something specific going on 10 years ago, which was like taking up all the Navy's attention there, or if it's just the general thing where like the Grand Line, it's so demanding, like it requires a lot of our resources all the time. And even in the present day, like all the majority of the Navy is like deployed on the Grand Line or something like that. I don't know. Something to keep in mind, I think, going forward about where the Navy's resources are, I suppose. But that's it. Yeah, for this set of episodes, a really good set of episodes. Nami's flashback is awesome. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time, and subscribe right now.